Well, welcome back everybody. Tiffany and I were going to clean up the garden and use the dump trailer, which you can see I just went and got filled with 6 cubic yards of mulch. Problem is I got to lift the dump trailer completely dead, even though it's been on the onboard automatic charger, which apparently is not working. So that battery in there was literally 0 volts. I don't know what has went on to drain it like it is. I had it plugged into the onboard charger right here, which obviously did not work. Thank goodness I just bought this new manual charger, because you can't charge a dead battery with your smart chargers. That may have been the problem. I've had this plugged in, but you know, these smart chargers are so smart now. If they don't see voltage or a battery has died for some reason, well, guess what? They won't kick on and charge. And I guess I have thought I was charging it the last couple months and maintaining it, and I was not. So that's why I went with me an old school charger right here, because it will output voltage and amperage no matter what it senses over there. So this thing's going to save me today. So it looks like we're going to have to charge this for quite a while. We'll see if we can bring it back up so we can dump this back here, because you can see what we're doing today. Just went and bought all this red dyed mulch. Got a killer deal on that too, by the way. And I've done scooped out all I can scoop right here, so I need to raise this dump back, open the doors, and scoop it out with a tractor, like I've done lots of other things in the past. Always something, ain't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So y'all can see what we're trying to accomplish here. We're going from the old nasty garden to, well, some new nice looking mulch. And we've decided to do this because, well, money. This is very affordable. So we're going to do this for at least this year. Next year, we're going to come back in and put that black tarp down over everything, because this will literally break down and rot within a year. And maybe next year, we'll go buy us quite an expensive load of rock and rock every bit of this and put weed barrier down. I think that'll make it look really, really good. But in the meantime, we want to freshen the garden up and put some of this mulch down. I don't know what all we're going to get into in this episode. We need to kill some more weeds out of here. I've done hit everything on the ground. It's currently dying. We need to use the chemical-free stuff in the bed, so we'll probably pull out the weed burner. And of course, we're going to make the garden look a whole lot better with mulch in this episode, if we can ever get the dump trailer to work. Well, that's pretty cool. Literally only like 5 minutes of charging and there's already enough juice in the battery to raise the dump trailer. I like my new charger. All right, I noticed whenever I was scooping out of here, I was pushing my truck forward. That's a really bad thing to do whenever your truck is in park, because there's like this little pin or catch in the transmission that whenever you put in park, it basically locks the transmission in, keeps your vehicle from rolling. And you can break that off if you push too hard. So the best thing to do is put your truck in neutral and put your emergency brake on. Now, whenever we push forward, it's basically the brakes holding it. You'll still move it some, but you're not relying on that little pin in the transmission in park that normally keeps you from rolling to hold back the weight of a tractor pushing. as you can see, me and old Ruger here had to come back to town to get a second load of this red dyed mulch right here. I didn't have quite enough to finish the garden, but y'all, the savings is insane. Absolutely insane. I have to crunch the numbers, but I come to this place right here and I buy my compost as well from them. And the last time I crunched the figures for about $75 to $100 worth of compost, well, it cost about $800 to buy it in bags at the store. Huge, and I mean huge savings buying in bulk if you can either rent a dump trailer or if you have one yourselves. So this company doesn't even have a clue who I am or that I have social media, but I've been really trying to promote small American businesses here on the channel here lately. But it's called Georgia, Florida Bark and Mulch in Perry, Florida. Check them out. Their prices are excellent, but they only sell by a 3-yard scoop. You can't get a smaller quantity than that, but the savings is insane. All right, so it looks completely different, doesn't it?
Looks good.
It looks so much better. So I had to go back to town, as y'all just seen, and get another load of mulch. We put it in pretty thick, which is going to help with the weeds. But this took a little more than I thought. Maybe we should have thought about doing rock.
We barely had enough. No, this has convinced me that rock is the way to go, because I don't want to have to do this every year, every other year. Like, that's a lot of work. So.
That was a heck of a lot of work. So Tiffany, the other day, she's like, hey, I want to go and move the mulch around. Just run to town, grab some, throw me some quick tractor piles out, and you can go do your work. Yeah, right. I've been out here all day long messing with the trailer and scraping everything out of it and hauling her load, and she's been moving it around. This was a really big job. Now, it looks great, but it's just going to break down here in the future. So next year, we're really going to have to stick some money aside and probably just put landscape fabric down and rock. And by the way, another reason I did not put landscape fabric down is because this is on more of a slope than you realize. And last time we had mulch out here, it washed completely out with a heavy storm. This is in so thick and it's a bigger mulch, I think we're going to be okay. But if I had to put it on that slick weed barrier, I'm afraid it would have just slid right out of the garden on the next gigantic heavy rain that we get. So, whoo. All right, well, I'm not done, but Tiffany's gonna head to the house. You go start getting stuff ready for supper, and I'm grilling steaks tonight. Looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, we deserve it.
Yep. All right, you and I need to take care of some weeds. Let me show you what we got going on. All right, so one more quick look around the garden. Boy, does that look completely different. So, I mean, mulch honestly isn't necessary. It does really cut down on the amount of weeds that push through, especially as thick as we did it. It's just pleasing to the eye and makes you kind of want to be out here working some more. Really like the way it looks. So the last thing on the agenda, as we're getting ready to plant here over the next week or so, or watching the long range forecast, we could get a frost tonight, it's looking like, but that may be the last one for a while. These little garden beds are coming up with weeds everywhere, but you got to look closely at all the little tiny weeds that are coming on up as well. So I do not put herbicides or pesticides in my garden beds. I may occasionally spot treat like an ant mound or something out here in the mulch, but I do no chemicals in my raised bed garden. That's one of the big reasons of growing a garden ourselves. Not only does the food taste better than store-bought, but I know what the heck is going in my food out here, and I really like that. Not to mention, I just bought all my seed potatoes, corn, just hundreds, maybe a few thousand seeds for 40 bucks the other day of multiple varieties, so it's so much cheaper to grow your stuff, but then you have to look at the labor you have involved too. Now, I just spent a few $100s on mulch, but it sure makes this garden bed look so much better. Like I said, in the future, we'll dump some rock out here. I don't know how much it'll take. It could be upwards of like $2,000. That's a lot of money. We'll have to price that out down the road, see if it makes sense. So how do you take care of all your weeds and stuff in your garden bed? And there's weeds everywhere. You can either sit out here and hand pick these for the next couple hours and lock your back up, or the way I have found a while back is, I've used this a lot for years on the channel, a big propane weeding torch right here. You start brush fires, everything with it, put a 30-gallon tank on a dolly right here, and I'll just go around the garden. That thing shoots a flame out, probably close to a foot, and all you have to do is quickly sweep over the weeds. I'm talking a split second. As soon as you see them start to draw up and wilt, which is just sweeping by about this fast, move on. And they are literally, I mean, they're dead almost instantly. You come back out here in a couple hours, they're brown, and by tomorrow, they're dust in the wind. So let's do that. Now, little plastic tubs like this, these tiny little few weeds in here, I'm just gonna hand pick. I think this year I'm actually gonna try some potatoes in here. We may plant those over the next few days, and I'll show you an episode there. We're gonna remove some of this soil out of here, plant potatoes down deep, and then slowly add soil back, basically healing them. That's a technique I've been wanting to try for a long time. So let's do that in these this year, because we're not going to grow as big of a garden as we normally do, and I can put just tomatoes in the small section, because man, we had way too many tomatoes last year, and that's what I was planting in these. We don't need a whole lot of potatoes either. All right, so let's get this weeding torch in here. Got a pretty long hose, so that works out really well. All right, this is so quick and easy. There's a weed, already dead. Just about that quick. That's it, 16-foot bed done, and I hit every little weed, and more importantly, I hit all the little weeds that I couldn't even see. So that would have taken several minutes of bending over and pulling all these by hand, and you would have missed all the little small ones that are so tiny you can't see them that this got for you, because, well, it just burned them up. This is the way to go if you are really picky about having chemicals in your garden. And a lot of people are intimidated by the torch in the propane tank, but I've had so many people email me or comment and say, we finally decided to buy one of those. I was intimidated. The flame, the sound, all that stuff. And when people started using it, they're like, that is the way to go. These, by the way, these work excellent for sidewalks and going down little cracks and all, although they're smaller pencil burners, better for that, because you got to be very careful about putting too much heat to concrete, or you can actually explode the concrete or rock, for example. So these have their place. Be careful what you use them on. And I can even actually come out here and weed the mulch. You would think this would catch it on fire. What you do is come out right after a rain. It does not matter. You can still burn the weed itself right up. And if the mulch is nice and soaked up and wet, it doesn't do anything. And then I'll just pay attention to the garden for the next hour or so, make sure nothing's smoldered. I definitely wouldn't want to hit the mulch on a nice and dry day. See, now in this bed, for example, there is, I'm looking at hundreds of tiny weeds. There's no way you could pick these out by hand. I mean, they're just everywhere. This is by far the quickest way to weed without using chemicals. All right, I think in order to wrap this video up, we're going to wait another week or so before planting, just because we're going to watch the forecast. Again, looks like we're going to potentially get a frost tonight, although a very light one. I just don't want to see anything on the next like 10 to 15 day forecast. If we look at it, we may go ahead and risk and do some planting. We're for sure going to plant some potatoes here coming up. But y'all remember the baby rabbits that we had in the garden on the last episode? Well, they're gone. We don't really know what happened to them. I'm about to pull the camera card right here and check it. We've been recording video content, but we already caught some really cool content. And the mom left them in her nest in here, and we read up as they get older, well, she only comes to them twice a day to feed them. Basically, they're left to fend for themselves and just learn how life works. And after a few days, they supposedly will mosey on. That appears to be what's happened. So we're going to go through the footage right here and include it at the end of the little rabbits that were in the garden, but they've long since been gone for at least a week, week and a half. They're probably out in the woods eyeballing this garden right here, looking at what they're going to want to try to come munch on in the future. We'll deal with that a little later, I suppose. All right, y'all, thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.